Pacific Viewpoint is proudly brought to you by South Pacific Loans, caring for the community's financial needs. Call us today on 0800 88 98 88.
Good evening and welcome to Pacific Viewpoint. Death is the one thing you and I cannot predict, evade or avoid, but we can prepare for the realities. By preparing for the realities now, you will relieve your family of the sure and known financial burden at the time of death. Although it is not easy to talk about death, there comes a time when we have to talk about the inevitable. Why? Because it is a necessary part of life. In this program, we will be discussing the importance and the sure benefits of the financial preparations that we should all consider and act on in order to save our families and loved ones from maybe having to go through a devastating financial experience on top of the emotional stress when accidents and death suddenly appears, turning our days into nights. Joining me in the discussion today is the CEO of AIL, or American Income Life Insurance Company in New Zealand, a company who have been serving New Zealand families since 1995, bringing financial protection and stability in times of tragedy. Please welcome Mr. Steve Friedlander. Our next guest is from the first point of contact in times of death and maybe the last one to be paid, and that is the funeral directors. From Tuingamala and Sons Funeral Services, please welcome Va'ainga Tuingamala, better known to us all as Inga the Winger. Inga was the first full-blooded Pacific Islander player in the All Blacks. And from AIL, someone who's a senior manager of AIL, who is normally out there in the field, mixing and mingle with the community in different activities, making a difference in their lives. Please welcome Teresa Serefano. Well, guys, looking around our world and looking around our home these days, it seems to me that death is surrounding us. Right here at home, the earthquake, the mine explosion killed hundreds of our loved ones. Japan is experiencing loss in the thousands. October 2009, the tsunami swept over Samoa, didn't it? And it once again claiming the lives of people that we love and we care so deeply about. That same wave of death reached the shore of Tonga in the island of Niue, claiming lives of people that we love and care so deeply about. So in the past years, different parts of the world have experienced mass death and suffering in a very scary and painful way. And it seems to me that no place is safe now. Anything can happen to anyone, anywhere, and anytime. And that is the reality. My question to you guys, Steve, you being an insurance provider, why do you think it is important that people and families out there have that protection, both life and accident cover? Why is it important?
Well, that's what it is, always to be ready for something that is unknown. In fact, I was talking to a colleague of mine today with the tornadoes they just had in the U.S., and we're a big family of managers, and thank God he's okay. But hundreds of innocent people got killed. The mining disaster we had in the South Island, a dozen of them were actually covered with AIL. The earthquake, we had 5 death claims and dozens of injuries from the earthquake that we covered, AIL. Coincidentally, you talked about the tsunami in Samoa. We had a couple of Kiwis of Pacific Island community that were there that we covered and we paid on. So you never know. It could happen anytime, any place, but if it does, is the family prepared? Will they be in a financial situation to get through all the final preparations and everything that are necessary? That's our job, is to make sure no matter when, no matter what, no matter who, that we can be there for the families to cover them.
Inga, I understood that you did go to Samoa back in 2009. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
What did you learn about death and the sudden, the suffering that overcame the country?
Well, I think what I experienced and what I saw with my own eyes was nothing in this world is certain. and there's a lot of uncertainty, and we saw nature at its best, and in terms of just what it caused, and just seeing our people absolutely hopeless. We went through villages, not just myself, but David Tour was with me, and we went from village to village, and we just saw the devastation. It's hard. The mind can't comprehend just how strong, Mother Nature is, at its worst. And we saw boats that had been lying on top of coconut trees, palm trees,
that high,
300 meters inland, and we were just amazed at the devastation and the destruction that it caused. So, and it does make you ponder. It makes you just think, wow, gee, we're only on this earth for a very short period of time, and we just got to make sure we make the most of it, because 1 minute you're here, next minute you're gone. That's the reality that of my work and as a funeral director.
From your perspective as a funeral director, why do you think it's important for our people, or for anybody out there, to have that cover?
Again, nothing's certain, but just for families to have that assurance at the back of their mind, that they are covered by, a wonderful, like in this case, AIL, have reached out and embraced our people and say, hey, you know what, we're a company that actually cares. There's that old saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much they care. And, AIL has done a fantastic job in reaching out to those families, our people, our community, and say, hey, we're here. We're here to comfort you in your time of need. We're here to embrace that journey with you, to walk along that, when you're mourning and you're grieving a loss of a loved one. And it's just so nice that I know the families that when they walk, and those who have looked after themselves have gone and got these policies put in place. And being Pacific Island too, we are superstitious at times, and we don't want to organise anything. We don't want to organise anything, especially our older generation, our parents. But even they've got to admit, and that it's a real comforting thing for them, knowing that their financial burden has been taken care of.
Teresa, you're normally out there in the field, you're involved in sports and activities and stuff, and you're mixing with people that have recently taken out policies from AIL. My question to you, I believe, and you can correct me here, Inga, I believe that this whole idea of having insurance, life insurance or accident insurance, is probably just a little bit more than 30 years for our people. When we first started, arriving here in New Zealand back in the 70s or, 60s. So it's not totally an old concept for us, which means if it's a new idea, then it might be hard to get grip of, and to digest that whole idea. But you're out there in the field. What is your experience with families that just recently, adopt the idea or is looking to take up that cover?
Being out in the field and especially with sponsorships as AIL have done so, the fact that we have so many families who have come up, why would we insure with AIL? This is the main question that I get a lot. The fact that we are there insurance covering the entire family, from a 15-week-old child right up to an 80-year-old, where you don't normally have that opportunity other places. Also the fact that because we've had systems back at home, and that system was just relying on families, as Inga had experienced as well, we are there to make the difference. I find that when I'm there, I'd like to make a difference in the family. I like to make a difference, and what I've experienced is that they're always asking, what's the difference? Why would I insure when I have my family who I can rely on? But the difference is that we'd like to leave families with, our loved ones behind with that financial freedom, being able to not having to rely on families all the time. But that's what I'm getting a lot back with feedback from our communities.
Inga, would you like to make a comment on that system that we have? As I said, we don't have insurance back home. My understanding, I think in Tonga, we've now, back in the 80s, we started to have a couple of insurance company there. And now, of course, the banks are offering it. But yet, probably still too high in the premium-wise for the people. But can you make a comment on the system that we had? A system that we rely on our family, like when your funeral happens, we appear, we come. We show appreciation. And when you do have yours, mine, then you come. So it's like scratching each other's back, which of course we're still doing it to this very day here in this country.
It is a debate that's been going on, not for the last 5 years, but certainly in the last 15 to 20 years. I know when I was a young kid coming to New Zealand, I remember very clearly in the 70s where, these European people would knock on our door and, try and sell insurance to my parents. My parents had no idea. They were just ignorant. It was foreign to them. Foreign.
I think that's the word I was looking for.
It was foreign in their eyes
yeah.
to be insured. Why? Why would I be insured? And I think even my family is probably in some ways entrenched in this, as is most Pacific Island families, is they look at their children as their insurance policies, where they will look after them when they get older.
Yes.
They will pay for all the bills. And because this is what I'm seeing, and there's an added pressure. And to me, it's unnecessary pressure when all they could do is look at what they're entitled to through an insurance policy and see what the benefits there is to it. And financially, the children are not burdened by this, because this is the crunch that I see week in and week out. I know in Samoa they're trying so hard to try and limit what we call whalawalaves.
Kavenga, we call it kavenga.
Trying just to limit everything, because everything's expensive. I have families come through my funeral home, and they're like a kid in a candy store. They see all the beautiful caskets, and they want this, they want that, and these are a yearning in our generation to always want to give the best of the very best to our parents when they move on, when they pass on. But for me, I'm very quick to point out that, hey, let's live in the real world. Let's look at what you can afford. Look, insurance policies has been around for hundreds of years. It's not new, but it's new in our way of thinking.
Yes.
Because we're trying to bring that to be part of our everyday life, that we are insured. And I'm one to put my hand up and say that I encourage it, because it makes a huge difference when it comes to a funeral.
Absolutely. Steve, I think my question to you, getting the idea of having that protection to cover your family, but also it is very vital in these days and age to actually go and choose the right insurance company to go with. At the end of the day, I may be insured for about 10, 15, 20 years, and it's all done for one day. For just that day, that tragedy will arrive suddenly and knock on my door. And when it happens, I want the company that I go with to deliver their promises.
Well,
I want it to deliver.
I think what you really want to do is make sure that insurance company is there on the day that you need it.
How long has AIL been around?
Well, originally from 1924. As we know it in the 50s, when our founder, who's still alive today, around 95, 96 years of age, Mr. Rappaport bought it over. He did it for a specific reason. He actually worked with people that most insurance companies would not go to. We still do things the old-fashioned way, where we actually visit the people in their home. In the Pacific Island community, there has always been a very big need for our services. And I think the most important part about it is that people need to be told and have it illustrated in a way they understood it. Where everything that was told to them was absorbed, where they see the value, they knew exactly what they're getting. So come the time on that day, it could be years from now or months from now, when they need our products and services. It could be any time. But the nice thing about it is that they got what they paid for. The word has gotten out in the community now that we are not a ripoff. And as a financial company, we're A+ superior. Now, for a lot of people, they don't know what that means, but I'll make it simple. We all went to school at one time. We didn't want to get Fs, we wanted to get A+, right? Well, we have the A+, and that's based on two criteria. One, do we have the money behind the products? Yes, so we are not going out of business. Number two, it's based on your claims paying ability. Well, we have both. You don't buy that rating, you earn it. And the way you earn it is to show that you have all the resources, and we do. So from a financial standpoint, we have the highest financial rating of any company in New Zealand.
So it means you can deliver your promise when death and accident starts arriving suddenly, and they always do.
Yeah.
You can deliver that promise that your clients are hanging on. I think at the end of the day, not only to go with the right company, but also the affordability of the premium. And I think this is a very vital question to you too. It's the affordability of the premium. Some may rise over time, some may be constant. Now, where does AIL come in here with the affordability of the premium?
With our premiums, as Steve said, we're very flexible. We're very flexible in our premiums. Looking at families with low income, looking at, depending, regardless of what the background is, we tend to bring in where it fits in with their budget. Okay, we can start from a $5 plan right up to whatever it is that's affordable for them. Looking at a one income family or two income families, again, this is where AIL comes in with their policies. It's very, very flexible to, from the age group, also from an 18-year-old, where we can take out a policy that could start from a $4, $5 plan right up to, whatever their affordability is. So again, I've never been so happy to be so passionate with a company than I do, because of the fact that how I want to deliver this to my community, to our community for that matter. I find it very comfortable that I'm in their house and I'm delivering, whatever the plan is. And that will cover them for life, would cover them for accident. And again, we also have other services like the hospital plan as well as the cancer plan. And again, everything has to fit in around the budget that they have.
I think what I've experienced, and I've been around a long time in terms of my own sporting background, I've seen how different insurance company has covered certain people, whether it's sporting or whether it's just general public. One of the things that I do find hard to accept is the fact that a lot of insurance companies will set the amount that you have to pay per month, and so in one sense they love to have your money. No insurance company, I'm sure AIL is the same, love to have your money. But when it comes to paying out, it's very difficult. And I'm not an employee of AIL. I've got my own business, but I must admit that AIL has been by far superior than all the other insurance companies that I've dealt with in terms of insurance claims for families. I've seen how families have gone away very, very satisfied. They've gone more than over and above than what they've paid for. So for me, that I suppose sends a real comforting message for me that I'm proud to be able to, promote them in a way, because we're a lot of the insurance companies in New Zealand, they are big companies, and they go for obviously those who can afford it.
Yes.
What we have here is AIL is taking a whole different market, and their market is looking at those who can only maybe afford the bare minimum, but the benefits
still have that covered.
Is covered, and that's got to be a real peace of mind to the families, and certainly when the crisis like a funeral that is unexpected. Some deaths in families you can predict through illnesses, through long sicknesses, but when it's sudden and it's a tragedy and you cannot see that coming around the corner, just to have the comfort of and I know because I deal with
you see them daily.
Yeah, I deal with it daily, but I also deal with this AIL company, and I'm very satisfied.
I came from Tonga in 2006. I need a future here with my family. I decided to buy a house. I went to the bank and they turned me down. So I went to South Pacific Loan and they decided to give me a second chance. So they upgrade my credit, and then I went back to the bank and they offered me a loan. And then I buy this house and here I am today. I highly recommend anyone who haven't tried South Pacific Loan, try South Pacific Loan, because they give me a chance to be here with my house today.
Give us a call or come and see us, because we understand the Pacific people.
Mo lafo ina tupe Samoa ma Australia ma tonga. Piki tupe Australia ma Samoa pe tu fo I social accounts I New Zealand nei. Whaatau tongi nei piki a mau. Whaia siaki talaina I le malai lele. Talaina o mātou tupe a pia I le Nick Money Transfer. Po sa vai I le Marie Money Transfer. O le mātou tuatusi o le numera fitu Princess Street o tau. Talaina le mātou ofisa le afa le valu le taeao I le lima I le afiafi. Asonga fua I le asfareile. Ma le afa le valu le taeao le afa sfulu le astonai. Pafsota I mai le mātou telefoni I le lua fitu o whavalu o le lua fitu ono lua tolu whaatasi. Mo nisi whaamatalanga whaatai tele Samoa I laulalako mai.
I know we've been talking about the funeral benefits. Is there any living benefits? Because normally insurance is not going to be paid out until you go. But is there any living benefits that
What's nice about our company is that, sure, the payoff would be if someone unexpectedly dies, but we have an accident policy that obviously is quite important. I think since I've been in this country over 15 years now, it's become a user-pay society. The government has been backing off. In fact, the government has possibly some financial problems that people should be concerned about. So there were times where the government would give people money if they got hurt and got sick. Well, those things are harder to get today. So I guess it's you have to take care of your own affairs now. So if you're going to do that, why not go with a company that has a good financial rating and the ability to pay out? And that's what we do. But more importantly, I think, again, going back to the people understanding what they have.
Yeah.
I mean, you could pay for something and expect to get something paid out, but not get it because you got something totally different. In our training we do with our representatives, they are trained to properly illustrate in any language, and that's what makes us different. We have Pacific Island speaking people to the elders, because the elders are just as important as the young people.
True.
So we want to take care of them too. So we want to make sure that they can be covered on an accident. One of the leading causes of death today, and Inga I'm sure can confirm when he sees people come to the funeral home, is cancer. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to die of cancer, but if you can get it soon enough, you can live. So our cancer policies pay out on detection, which means if you get it soon enough, we will give a cash payout so people can live and get the private treatment that the government won't give them, because the queues for the government waiting...
Yeah, it's too long.
Right. So we do have a lot of living benefits, but
Let's just pray it won't come our way.
Right.
Inga, what's the difference between a person that have got that life insurance or cover and a person that have not got that cover?
It's a very good question, and I see the emotional roller coaster ride
Yeah.
that families go through. Families that are well prepared and are insured and covered, there is a real sense of confidence in their decision making. They are very, very clear, and to be quite honest, I would have thought that they would have gone ballistic in their choosing what they want here, there, and everything. But they don't. They're very adamant, and they know clearly what they want on their day. So they don't abuse that just because they got life insurance cover. They don't abuse, we want the biggest and the best,
Yeah.
But it is evident in when I'm dealing with families, and there's they're nice reassurance for them and their confidence in their decision making. Whereas those who you can actually tell financially they're in a bad state. There is great concerns because when they're emotionally all over the place, they make some real hasty decisions. And some of them, they'll look for every avenue to try and borrow money.
Yeah.
They put their houses as security, and it just puts them in a real panic mode. And then that you've got a huge uphill battle to try and help this family through. For an average funeral, it's about anything between $5,500 to $10,000, and that's just for the funeral preparation and the grave and the plot,
digging
the digging to the meal is a different thing
Yeah.
altogether. And so I want to encourage that because
Yeah.
there's a benefit to us as well as a funeral home.
Yeah.
That if they're if they've got life insurance in place, that actually takes that burden away from the financial burden.
Teresa, like when you're out there in the field, what is the feel that you get from these people that have covered?
Linda, with the people that are out there that are covered we have visited, they're never afraid to approach us. Although they have that plan, they're never afraid to approach us. Why? Because they want to know more. They want to know what else can we provide, because they've experienced what we've already offered. But they're always wanting more. Not only that, they want their families to come on board. So they are always referring families, and because of the fact that they were happy with the service we provided, I enjoy the fact that we come in the door and we're meeting them as they're like family. They're family to us, to AIL. When they're referring families, because they don't want their families to go through what other people have gone through, and they want to be protected. They want their families to be protected just like them. In most other places, I think you'll find that the premiums tend to go up on an annual basis. With AIL, our premiums maintain until they decide whether to, increase or decrease. And that's one of the things that I hear a lot from our community out there. Some people say, "Oh no, it's too expensive." It's this, but that's what they've experienced with other companies. But the fact that referrals from families that we've dealt with, the families that we've visited, they've spoken the word for us. They're out there.
How important it is, Steve, for a client to keep that premium going?
I think it's been said during this whole program is that you just never know when that day is going to come. I've seen many people come to us when everyone was taking, and we were the only ones to give, and that was the money, the check, and they got exactly what they paid for. I've also seen a couple families come through not realizing that their father or their mother let go of the policy. And it's a sad day. I mean, it's almost where I have to break down and cry with them, because if they had kept that policy up, it would have been a whole different set of circumstances. So as it's been said a little earlier, we have a permanent cover. Once you get it, we will never drop you. If you drop us, unfortunately, we can't cover you. But because it's permanent, the rates stay the same. The coverage is always there. We cover you until age 120.
120.
So I haven't met anyone, I think, older than 100 yet, but we give them an extra 20 years of cover. So when you need it the most, we will be there. But the most important thing is they do have to keep it up.
Inga, from your perspective there.
What I love about AIL is that you might have $15 a week that you can afford. Most people probably go down a lotto shop and spend $30 on lotto, whereas this is a $15, but it not only just covers you and your wife, but it can cover your whole family. And whereas a lot of other insurance companies, it's on a one-on-one basis, where you got to individually pay for it. You got an amount here where they can actually cover your whole family. That's what I like about it. They're doing something positive. And all I want to do is encourage our people to be consistent. Just be consistent, to be disciplined, to make sure that your policy is intact, that it doesn't lapse. For a few dollars a week, it's not a huge effort, but the rewards at the end, because, like Steve has already mentioned, when death comes knocking at your door,
and they come suddenly.
Comes suddenly, you want to know that everything's in place.
That's all we have time for on tonight's program. If you think AIL insurance is for you and your family, you can contact them on 0800 000 824. There's a team waiting to take your call now. That's 0800 000 824. Again, there's a team waiting for your call now. Or you can contact Teresa Stefano on 021 358 356. 021 358 356. Make sure you tune in next week. Until then, bye for now.